Okay. If you can hear me, let me know down below in the comments section. I always try to, this thing freeze up. I want to test the audio. There we go. All right. See. Okay, if you have questions or comments about Impact tonight, which just went off the air about 15 minutes ago, put your questions in the comments section. Oh, you fucking kidding me? I hate machines sometimes. Come on. Yeah, technology is often not my friend, unfortunately. 1 second. Okay. All right. Can you guys hear me okay? Optionally. Yeah. 1 sec. All right, the audio on my computer is still working. It is functioning right now. I can hear the stream fine. I'm going to assume that you guys can hear it okay. So I don't want to keep anybody waiting here. All right, so if you can't hear it, please say something in the comment section. Otherwise, we're going to start now. Okay, Impact Wrestling from October 14th, week 2 of the World Title Series. A tournament most likely being done so the writers have an excuse to fill time on the show with a lot of matches, a lot of wrestling, without having to write a lot of storylines under the guise of making a big production out of crowning a new world champion. As evidenced by this show, where, once again, we get a whole lot of wrestling matches with little to no story attached. Our first match from Group Tag Team Specialists is Matt Hardy versus Davey Richards. It's a good, solid match with no storyline aside from the fact that both men are in the World Title Series. I have a feeling I'll be going to be saying that a lot during this thing. Matt wins. I think most of us expected that. Because barring some unforeseen circumstances, he's probably going to wind up in the final match. Not much else to say about this. They're still trying out different production techniques here. They're getting a lot of use out of that green screen that the announcers are in front of now. I'm ambivalent about that. You know, ultimately, I think I do prefer when the announcers call the show at ringside. Doing it this way looks a little too post-produced, in my opinion. But it's not hurting anybody. Also, there's still that thing where they air pre-taped backstage promos during the matches, these pre-taped interviews. And I appreciate that they're trying to do something different, but this I just don't like. I find it distracting personally, and it seems like they're doing these so as to de-emphasize, if not eliminate, backstage segments almost entirely, which to me seems kind of limiting. Because there are things you can do with traditional backstage pre-tapes that you really can't do with these things. About the closest we get to backstage segments right now are these roundtable interviews, which pretty much amount to wrestlers taking turns saying, I'm going to win the World Title Series because you suck. No, I'm going to win the World Title Series because you suck. It doesn't seem like the creative team is devoting a lot of attention to these segments, and they get old kind of quickly. Anyway, next we had from group Wildcards, Kenny King versus Aiden O'Shea. That's Jay Bradley with a new persona. He's doing this Irish brawler gimmick now, which is odd since he doesn't have an Irish accent. So he's an Irish brawler from Chicago. Okay, whatever. I like Jay Bradley, generally. I didn't think he got a fair shake in his last run, so I'm happy to see him back. Maybe things will turn out differently for him this time. Not this week, though. After a decent match, Kenny King wins. So he only starts to win again after we hear that he's left the company. Because after this, we have from group TNA Originals. How many groups are in this tournament? I can't even keep track of them all. From group TNA Originals, Abyss versus Eric Young. So after Eric turned on TNA and sided with GFW during the GFW invasion angle, Eric Young is being rewarded, not punished, mind you, but rewarded with a chance to win a world title shot. If you say so, TNA. So EY versus Abyss. I really didn't care about this one much. I don't have much interest in Abyss anymore. Nothing against the guy, but he's becoming TNA's answer to Kane at this point. And him facing Eric Young in a match with no story that is not going to be able to change that. The match is okay, I guess. Abyss wins, and I really didn't care about this match, honestly. Afterward, Eric cuts a promo saying that the company is against him. Yeah. After he turned on the company and sided with GFW, who were trying to take over said company, the company rewarded him with a world title, with a spot in the world title tournament, and now he says the company is against him. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Seems to me like TNA are being incredibly generous to Eric. So you figure that out. Then we have Eddie Edwards versus Robbie E. from Group Tag Team Specialists. Eddie actually did a really good job carrying Robbie here. And to be fair, Robbie did not break out the rest hold of doom at any point. So there's that. Doesn't mean I was happy about him winning the match, though. Then from Group Wildcards, it's Mahabali Shera versus Crazy Steve, who still exists, apparently. It's basically a squash match, and Shera wins very quickly, as you would expect. As a squash match, I guess it was okay. I don't really have any strong feelings about it. It was over so quickly, there wasn't really time to have any. And, am I forgetting anything here? No, from there, that pretty much takes us to the main event. From Group TNA Originals, it's Bobby Roode versus James Storm. Yeah, James Storm is in the World Title Series right after he left the company just a few weeks prior. So they got James Storm to appear on Impact, but they couldn't get him for Bound for Glory, which is odd. You know, so much of the roster is on pay-per-appearance deals these days. Does leaving the company even really mean that much? I don't know. Obviously, this was taped weeks and weeks before Storm showed up on NXT. But just showing up on NXT doesn't necessarily mean he has a WWE contract. He could still be a free agent. In the same way that Blue Pants is a free agent. We'll see where he winds up. But for now, he's in this World Title Series, getting bigger babyface pops than Bobby Roode, despite being the heel. Anyway, it's a great match. I mean, it's Storm and Rude. They're not going to put on a bad match together. You know that. So we got a great main event here with Rude winning. And that's how the show ends, with no real hook or cliffhanger for next week, other than that being the show where a new group of wrestlers in the World Title Series will have some matches. So it's the exact same cliffhanger as last week, essentially. Despite one or two things, this was a perfectly serviceable show. The thing is, it was another very wrestling-heavy show here. And I've been over this several times before, but I'll say it again. Very wrestling-heavy shows are great when there's a reason to do them. But when you do them consistently, for seemingly no other reason than to cover for the fact that there's not a lot of storylines being told, well, then you become a more gimmicky version of ROH. And one look at ROH's viewership figures will tell you that's probably not something you want to be. No offense to anyone who likes ROH. If you like ROH, fine. Fine. But, you know, look at their viewership. Clearly what they're doing is not exactly grabbing the attention of the mainstream audience. And no offense to TNA, but I don't see this tournament doing much to accomplish that either. It's producing some good matches, and good wrestling is appreciated, but in 2015, your product needs to be about more than just that if you want to grow your product. And once again, this goes back to creative. I don't know how many times I have to say it, but TNA need new writers. They just do. Because what the current writers are producing right now isn't doing anything but helping the company tread water, if that. Okay, maybe they're doing some different things with the production, but as far as the writing is concerned, well, they're just putting a different coat of paint on stuff we've seen before. Ooh, they're having a tournament. Wow. Okay, it's a tournament with some unusual rules and a point system, which you don't see every day, but ultimately it's just another tournament. There's nothing really, interesting or innovative or impactful about that. So that was my thoughts on Impact. And now we are going to the comments section. And as I still cannot see comments in the comments section for reasons I am still unable to determine, I'll be going to my laptop, which does show comments in the comments section. And no, I'm still not sure why. Excuse me. All right. WWE and TNA Talk says these matches were taped months ago. Yes, I'm well aware of that. I know all about the taping schedule. They tape months of TV at a time so as to eliminate costs like travel and stuff like that. Let's see. Hang on, I got a frog in my throat here. The Save Me one. I'm not the biggest fan of wrestling-heavy shows, but I thought the past 2 weeks have been really good. Way better than anything Raw is doing right now anyway. Oh, I'd agree with that, yeah. I mean, they're wrestling-heavy shows. They're not bad wrestling-heavy shows. I mean, the wrestling, for the most part, has been good quality wrestling. The quality of the wrestling is not the issue. It's not the problem. The problem is there's, good wrestling with no real storyline or context for it is just wrestling. And My concern is you need more than that to draw interest, and it doesn't seem like they're trying to do much more than that. Let's see. Jim Con 1479. Getting used to the new format, feels more organic, reminds me of your old WWE Rage vids from back in the day. Oh yeah, those. Those were fun to make. Yeah, I'm getting used to doing it this way too. It was weird at first, but I have to admit it does save me a lot of time. I liked how my how the reviews used to turn out. I was always pretty happy with the final product. Problem is they just take a lot out of my week. They take a lot of time to make look good, and there's pluses and minuses to doing it both ways. But this way, I get to free up a lot of time, and plus I get to interact with people more, which is nice. Let's see. Jim Con 1479. See, if you were booking TNA, who would you bring in from the indies? Bring in from the indies. Wow. I'm not. Excuse me. I'm not really informed about the current indie talent. I'm not as familiar with it as I probably should be. God. I think Dalton Castle, maybe. Before I stopped watching ROH again, he was one of the few guys on there that they had that really stood out to me, because he seemed to be one of the only guys on their show that was actually trying to be unique and stand out from the pack with a personality. I'm like, hey, there's a guy who's doing something different. All right, it's not just the usual spot monkey with no personality. This guy actually stands out. Okay, let's see more of him. So he would be one, I guess. Kaylee Ray, of course, because saying TNA need to scoop her up before WWE gets their hands on her. And she did a match on NXT, so she's on their radar. So it's sooner or later it's going to happen, and TNA will regret it if they don't get her first. I guarantee you. Nikki Storm, same thing. I'm just not that familiar with the indie talent right now. But those would be a few people. Also, Chris Hero. If he's, last time I saw him, he wasn't in the greatest shape. But if he's gotten himself back in shape, you'd make him an offer. Christ. That saved me one. If I were TNA, Eli Drake would be my pick to build up and replace Magnus. Not sure he could be the gateway star for the UK audience, but he is absolutely a guy they should be building up. I mean, you saw that roundtable interview thing on the show tonight, right? This guy really stands out. He's got great mic skills, a ton of charisma. Hell, he's got more star quality than most of the roster. This is a guy they should be giving a huge push to. I don't know why they're not doing it. See, Jean Carlos Velasquez Marcano. Hopefully I'm pronouncing all that right. Your thoughts on James Storm showing up on NXT, and do you think he'll stay there instead of re-signing with TNA when we still don't know about the future of the company? Well, if TNA's future is uncertain, I guess the smart thing would be to sign with WWE if he has an offer on the table. I mean, if he's looking out for his career, the guy doesn't want to be unemployed. So I assume the smart thing to do financially would be to go with WWE. Now, if TNA are reasonably sure they're going to sign a new TV deal somewhere, and if Storm likes it there, if he's happy there, then maybe TNA would be not a terrible option. We really don't know. With things so uncertain about TNA, if he's thinking about making money to support his family, he wants to get a few of those big paychecks, that big time money before he retires. Maybe WWE would be a better option for him personally. I mean, Storm isn't the youngest guy in the industry anymore. He's only going to have so many chances to get to WWE. And if he's got a chance now, hey, if I were him, I'd think about taking it. Just looking out for just thinking about what's best for him right now. I mean, it would be a loss for TNA, but for Storm, I mean, what else could he really do there? I think it's obvious by now that they're not going to get behind him the way they should have a long time ago. For some reason, they don't see him as, the guy, which I think is stupid. It's disappointing as hell that Storm never really got that main event run with the world title that he deserved. But, they didn't give it to him for one reason or another. I doubt he'd get it in WWE, but at least he'd probably make more money in WWE at this point. Let's see. The Save Me one, I can't believe Robbie E beat Eddie Edwards. And I don't know why they are pushing him as a babyface no matter what. I can't buy into it. Yep. You took the words right out of my mouth. I don't buy Robbie E as a babyface. The guy's a douchebag. Doesn't seem to me like he's changed his persona all that much. And what is this thing with him challenging one of the some football player from the Patriots or something? What is that about? Well, because the guy has a similar name. What the guy is named Robbie, but his last name starts with a G. So this is Robbie thinking that the guy is stealing his name or something. So he's challenging the guy to a match on Impact. Why? Is there any chance of that happening? I don't know, because the Donald Trump thing went nowhere. You had Tigre Uno challenging Donald Trump to show up in the Impact Zone, and that went absolutely nowhere. The guy didn't care. So it just kind of made TNA look stupid for thinking he would show up in the first place. And now they're doing this. I mean, unless you can confirm an appearance for the guy beforehand, why even bother? You're just going to look stupid when he doesn't show up. Jeff Atwood, are you not surprised about Raw's ratings being in the toilet due to Monday Night Football? No, I am not surprised at all. Frankly, Raw has been a snooze fest lately. And if this is their idea of counter-programming when football is on the other station, quite frankly, they deserve the ratings they're getting. Because the show is just fucking boring. Vince is reportedly flipped out behind the scenes. I don't blame him. Why don't WWE try to put on better shows when they compete with football during the fall? Well, I think it has a lot to do with the mentality behind the scenes. I think as far as they're concerned, they are putting on great shows, or what they perceive to be great shows. And that's the problem. They're not great shows. So something about the creative mentality and philosophy backstage in WWE needs to change. Because someone needs to stand up to Vince and tell him that the shit they're putting out there just isn't that good. Problem is, if anyone does do that, they'd probably get fired, unless it was Hunter who did that. Let's see. WWE and TNA talk. Let's see. And he has no new footage taped for Impact, so they had to use old matches for the next few months. No, these are not new. These are not old matches. These were taped at the last set of TV tapings. I remember when the taping results came out, it was weird. I didn't really know what they were doing because the matches seemed to have no context and there were no the taping results don't usually cover promos. They usually cover like backstage stuff. So okay, I was like, okay, we got a bunch of matches happening here with no apparent context for any of it. So on paper, this stuff would look like just a bunch of random matches. But they're not old matches. These were taped recently. The Save Me won. Rude and Storm had a great main event. That's not surprising, though. Well, yeah, it was a very good match. Of course, it's Rude and Storm. We would expect them to have a very good match. Again, my issue is not with the quality of the wrestling. It's the fact that that was all it was, just a very good match. And I would prefer, main event matches to have a little bit more going on than just that. Give me a storyline reason why these guys are feuding. And it doesn't have that. It's a tournament. And ordinarily, that would be okay, but TNA are doing this kind of stuff more and more. It's the way I see it. The tournament is just a big excuse to not do a lot of storylines. It's a way to put two random people in a match with no story and excuse it. Okay, we can do it. Okay, they have no reason to fight, but they're in the tournament, so they have to fight. And it'll produce some good wrestling, sure, but seems like it's just a way to take the pressure off creative, so they don't have to try so hard. WWE and TNA talk. Why did TNA not have TV tapings lined up for after Bound for Glory? That would have been the smart way to go. Probably financial reasons. That would mean they would have to schedule TV tapings not long after the previous ones, which means they'd have to fly in all the talent and do other various things. There's a reason they tape like 3-4 months of TV at a time, so they don't have to do very many TV tapings, and that saves them money. So I don't remember when the last set of TV tapings were, but I knew they taped like tons and tons and tons of matches, enough to last them for several months. And they weren't going to do TV tapings after Bound for Glory because they'd already taped TV to take them well past that. Let's see. William A. Bear. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. What are your thoughts on TNA in talks with 4 networks? Rumored to be WG in America, FX, FXX2, WG in America 3, and AMC 4. I've never heard of most of those stations. Unless we get something concrete, I don't really have. I don't really have an opinion on that. Most of those sound like they'd be a step up from Destination America. I know at least FX is on basic cable, so that you wouldn't have to pay for a premium cable package to get it, which is good. Of course, they need to produce much higher ratings to be able to survive on FX. FXX2, I don't know. WG in America 3, AMC 4, I didn't even know those existed. So I don't really have an opinion. Of course, there comes a point where they may have to settle for whatever they can get. Like I've said before, the ratings for WG in America, for Destination America, haven't exactly given them a lot of bargaining power. So they may find themselves in a tight spot before too long. Let's see. Carrie. I don't know. Kyrie 420. How is Kenny King and James Storm on Impact, NXT, and ROH all on the same night? Kenny King is on ROH tonight, Storm on NXT tonight. Oh, are they? uh, different taping schedules. Yeah, this episode of Impact was taped weeks, probably months ago. Whereas NXT was would have been taped not that long ago, I think. Uh, Same thing with ROH. They're on a different taping schedule. I don't know when exactly they tape TV, but yeah, there is a way that would all work out. Let's see. Jean Carlos Velasquez Marcano, Rob Gronkowski, the Patriots player, is best friends with NXT's Mojo Rawley. I don't think he even knows about TNA at all. Okay. So, what does TNA get out of Robbie E challenging him to a match in the Impact Zone? Well, Rob, that makes Robbie E look kind of stupid. Like I said, same thing with the Donald Trump thing. If you're not sure the guy's going to show up, why are you even bothering to challenge him? They just make themselves look desperate. Jeff Atwood, I really enjoy watching your live streams on Wednesday nights. You do a great job. Are you going to do live streams permanently? Thank you, first of all. I don't know if I'll do live streams permanently. I may go back to the normal reviews. But for right now, I'm enjoying doing the live streams because they save time and they're more interactive. And people seem to be enjoying them. So they do have a lot of benefits to them. William A. Bear, by the way, I watched Arrow and it was good. Yeah, that was a good episode. You know, I'll talk about this more in the live stream tomorrow night. But I enjoyed it. I wish Jerry Ryan was sticking around because I like Jerry Ryan. Oliver Queen running for mayor. That is going to be a hard sell, though. Yeah, this guy was because wasn't this character like a star in the tabloids before he wound up on the island due to all his spoiled rich punk behavior, and now he's going to run for mayor. What are your Mr. Queen? What are your qualifications? No one else is running. I don't know how they're going to make that work, but we'll see. It was a good episode. I especially liked the stuff with Oliver and Thea. That was a really good scene when he called her out on being, a lunatic. Was a really unintentionally hilarious moment at the end there when they spoiler alert when they oh god when Laurel and Thea dug up Sarah's grave and they opened the coffin, and apparently, despite being dead for over a year, Sarah has not decomposed whatsoever. How does that work? Wouldn't she be? I mean, she'd be a little more than a pile of bones with some decaying flesh hanging off them at this point. But she hasn't decomposed at all. What the fuck? How do they plan to explain that? I don't know. We'll talk about that tomorrow on the Comic Show post show. Let's see, Deontay 320. Apparently, TNA wants Storm back to put over Shera on the India tour. Okay. Well, I mean, if that's all they have planned for Storm, I could see an offer from the WWE being very tempting. Nothing against Mahabali Shera, but if all they want Storm to do is put over some other guys, there's not much in it for him, especially if he's got an enticing offer from somewhere else. Let's see. John Carlos Vasquez Marcano, do you think WWE, after Vince retires or dies, will have such big improvements in their product under Triple H and Stephanie? People seem to think they will. I think it might get marginally better. But let's not forget, I mean, Stephanie has been running the creative team for a long time now. I mean, yeah, it's micromanaged by Vince at the end of the day, but it's still, Stephanie is still one of the chief creative people behind the scenes. And, well, we've all seen the results. You know, personally, I'm very skeptical that it would lead to any significant improvements. I suspect it might get a little better. You know, if you have Triple H making the majority of the calls backstage. But, you know, it's still a WWE machine we're talking about. And it's got a lot of moving parts. And, you know, Vince and Triple H and Stephanie can't account for everything. So I expect there would be small changes. But if people thinking that Triple H and Stephanie taking over would solve all the problems with that company, I think that's being optimistic. That saved me one. Do you think two of the problems with wrestling today are that, one, the talent today is not as good as the talent was in the 1980s or 90s and early 2000s at making themselves into stars and must-see TV? Two, pro wrestling has done everything there is to really do when it comes to storylines and theatrics, and there's nothing new or innovative anymore. I think two more than one. I mean, part of the reason why pro wrestling is so stale is that like the audience has seen everything and they're jaded and they're crying out for something new and original. And the problem is the people running the industry now and like all the big companies, they don't have any original ideas left. They seem like they're very stuck in their bubble and they don't. All they're really trying to do is the same stuff that they've always done. Now, from time to time, TNA seem like they're trying to do new things, but very rarely do they actually follow through on them. So yeah, that is a big problem. So no real innovative ideas right now. I think there are new things that could be done, but the people who have those ideas probably are working in the industry. That's why I've always said if there's going to be a new wrestling boom, it's not going to be because of anyone currently working in the industry. It's going to be from somebody outside who doesn't think in the wrestling bubble and who has new and different ideas. The problem is that person getting their foot in the door, whoever they are. I still think there's great talent out there. I don't think it's any better or worse than it used to be. It's just the machine has changed. And, for example, in WWE, it's a lot harder to make stars or become a star or make yourself a star in the WWE because half the time, if you get over, you're punished for it. They don't like anyone getting over if they're not supposed to. Reference Cesaro. The guy got himself over, and that pissed people off because he wasn't supposed to. You can't do the Cesaro swing. People like it too much. So, he got bumped down and put in a tag team with Tyson Kidd for a while. And, now he seems to be back on the right path now, but, it was a bumpy road getting there. And then Neville. Look at Neville. He was the man on NXT, comes up to the main roster. Within a few months, he's a jobber. And then there's all that even Steven booking where nobody really gets over on the other person because everybody's got to be protected, and all you're accomplishing with that is nobody really gets over. So yeah, it's of these two problems you mentioned, I say it's probably two more than one. But I think there are still people capable of making themselves into stars, but they need the opportunity. And getting that opportunity is difficult. Dire Wolf 87, how would you book Eva Marie on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? I would book Eva Marie as one of Lash's victims. He finds Eva Marie. Tell me where to find the Inhuman. You don't know where the Inhuman is? Okay, I'll just blast a hole in your chest. You're a corpse now. Goodbye, Eva Marie. Deontay 320. Storm was not on NXT tonight. It's next week. All right, whatever. As I understand it, they tape NXT. They tape several of those shows at a time, so it would probably be like the same TV tapings, right? Not sure how that works. Dire Wolf 87. Did you see the public execution? Match between Asuka and Dana Brooke from Respect? No, I didn't see it. I would suspect Asuka went over. Well, Asuka's from Japan, and Dana Brooke is from the Performance Center, isn't she? So I would suspect Asuka made Dana Brooke humble. Jeff Atwood, if the Batman movie series were to ever come back and you were in charge, what villain would be in the next Batman movie? My choices would be Harley Quinn, the Riddler, or Deathstroke. Well, the Batman movie series is coming back. It's going to be the Ben Affleck Batman. They're writing it now. If I were in charge, what villain will be? I don't want to say the Joker because we haven't seen how the Jared Leto Joker is going to turn out yet. I'm optimistic that he'll do a good job, but I want to see Suicide Squad first. Same thing with Harley Quinn. I would like to see a serious version of the Riddler. Deathstroke's not really a Batman villain. We've never seen Clayface in a movie. He might be cool. Or the ventriloquist. I always liked him in the Batman animated series. I always imagine if he ever showed up in a movie, I think Paul Giamatti would be a good choice for the ventriloquist. That'd be really cool. Who else? Deadshots and Suicide Squad. Oh, God, not too familiar with Batman these days. Court of Owls, maybe? I don't know. Yeah, it looks like the new Batman franchise is going to be more close to the comics than the Dark Knight stuff was. So the hyper realism isn't really a factor anymore. So they could do more comic book type stuff. That's why I think Clayface would work. So yeah, he'd be one, I guess. I'm not saying he'd work as the primary villain, but I think he'd be really cool to see in a movie at some point. Let's see. Direwolf 87. Are you a member of the Super Kick Party? Maybe not an official member. I do really enjoy those videos though. I like the one where they're at a kid's birthday party and they got a guy in dressed up as Elmo or whatever the fuck that was, and they super kick that guy. Those are funny. Jean Carlos Vasquez Marcano, have you seen the Roswell TV series? Are you referring to the old WB series, Roswell, that from back in the day before it was the CW? With what's her name? The girl from Lost, Emily DeRaven. Yeah, she was on Roswell, and then she was on Lost. The blonde chick. That the show you're talking about? Going to assume that's what you're talking about. Yeah, I watched it. Yeah, I saw it. It was interesting. Wasn't always great, but it had its moments. Let's see. Direwolf87, have you heard of Chase Owens? I heard he'll be in the Bullet Club soon. I've heard of him. I haven't seen him. Don't really have an opinion on that. Kaylee420, who is your favorite women's wrestler? Kaylee Ray and Nikki Storm is a close second. Mainly because I just love Kaylee Ray's style of wrestling. Very few women wrestle that style. I love that she uses like tons of high flying springboard stuff because female high flyers are pretty rare, and I love that style when women do it. Plus, I have a big soft spot for pale faced redheads. So it's like my favorite type of women's wrestler with my favorite type of look for a woman. So I have a big fan of Kaylee Ray. Plus, Nikki Storm is just fucking hilarious. Like, her promos are entertaining as hell, and every match I've seen her have, every single one, she does something that makes me laugh. So I just think Nikki Storm is incredibly entertaining. So I really love those two. Carrie420, WWE got mad at Sandow for getting over. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's another one. It seems like just about everything they've given him, he's found some way to make it work on some level, and they just don't get behind him. I don't know what he has to do. Direwolf87, have you ever watched the X-Files movie? Oh, wait, then. Ever watched the X-Files? Yeah, I watched the X-Files. I watched it religiously back in the day. First 5 seasons were the best. In later seasons, it got kind of frustrating. I have not decided yet if I'm going to watch the new revived X-Files. I don't know how they're going to explain why the alien colonization didn't happen. And apparently, Cancer Man is still alive, despite being blown up by a missile from a helicopter in the series finale. How the fuck is he still alive? I don't know. I heard that they're gonna explain why the colonization didn't happen with another conspiracy. How the alien colonization was just a cover up for something else, and they're something. Christ, I don't know. Like I said, first 5 seasons were the best because I believe Chris Carter had a 5-year plan when he started. After that, it started being not as good. See, the Save Me one. Lana might make a good Russian spy for Agent Carter. Why the hell not? I don't think she'll be unseating Dottie as the top heel on that show anytime soon, because Dottie was just made of awesome. But Lana as a Russian spy, yeah, I'd buy that for $1. Direwolf87, will Eva Marie be Asuka's next victim, and how would you book it? I doubt it, because WWE seem to like Eva Marie. I don't know why. They seem to think there's money in her. Again, I don't know why. So I would suspect that they're going to protect Eva Marie. Although watching Asuka obliterate her would be fun. I kind of doubt it'll happen. How would I book it? Oh, I just have her put Eva Marie through a fucking table. Well, maybe put them in a no DQ match. Just have Asuka completely go to town on her. Whereas it's probably not something you'd see in WWE. Giancarlos Vasquez Marcano. Yeah, the one from WWE. The one from the WB channel. Max Evans, Michael Guerin, Isabel Evans, and the 3 aliens. Yeah. That Roswell. Yeah, I watched that show. That was another one that could be frustrating at times. I tended to enjoy the alien stuff more than the teen romance angle, at least with Max and Liz, who I didn't really care for. Michael and the blonde chick, what's her, Maria, I think. They were more interesting to me. So they were fun. The Max Liz stuff, I never really liked that. So ultimately, I thought the alien mythology was more interesting. Didn't seem like that's always what the show was interested in, though. And then there was that story where they had clones in New York who dressed up as like a punkish attire that was better left forgotten, and that show was hit and miss. Direwolf 87, thoughts on Kenny Omega? Dude, I'm a big fan of Kenny Omega. You know, I haven't seen him in a while, but I had a guy. That dude's fucking awesome. He's got tons and tons of energy, athletic as hell. I find him really entertaining. I'm a huge proponent of that guy, and I really wish one of the big companies in America would bring him in. Maybe that's not what he's interested in. As far as I know, we works mainly in Japan. Is he in the Bullet Club? I think he's in the Bullet Club. Yeah, I wish somebody would sign him in America so I could see him on TV, because that dude's got talent coming out the ears. The Save Me one. Baby Doll would be a cool Batman villain. It probably wouldn't work in a movie, though. Maybe on Gotham. Okay, Baby Doll from the animated series, right? Yeah. I remember her thing on the animated series was that she didn't age. So she was basically an adult in the body of a child. So you'd need a child actor to pull that off. Child actors, more often than not, suck. So I don't think that would work in a movie or TV. I think probably in animation would be the best way that character would come off. Let's see. Van Chaps. I've stuck with TNA since 2003. There have been high moments and low moments, but I stick with it like WWE. All they have to do is just stick with simple, logical booking and steer clear of over or hot shot booking. These last 2 episodes of Impact have been very entertaining, with mostly easy to follow. Okay. Yeah, I think that is a problem TNA have had in the past, kind of overcomplicate things. I think simple and logical can work as long as it's smart, simple, and logical. Of course, TNA don't always do the logical thing, and sometimes a lot of their decisions aren't too smart or too simple. I think the last 2 episodes, when they started this tournament, have been simple and logical. For me, it's just a little too bare bones. I personally, for my taste, I like more storyline, and it just doesn't seem like that's where they're going. That's where they're at right now. But they haven't done anything really stupid in the last 2 weeks, and that's good. Direwolf 87, thoughts on Lana and Rusev's real life engagement and the end finally to that angle. Oh, let's not get ahead of ourselves. I think just because their engagement was reported on TMZ and thus incorporated into that storyline on Raw doesn't necessarily mean the feud is over. They could just as easily pair up Dolph Ziggler and Summer Rae and have them feud with Rusev and Lana and keep the angle going that way. I wouldn't put it past them to do that, actually. But yeah, honestly, Lana and Ziggler wasn't really working out. I thought Lana was way more interesting before she became Ziggler's arm candy, and it is kind of sucked because Lana was getting very popular as a babyface. So to put her back with Rusev, I don't know if that's going to help. It's probably a better option than keeping her with Ziggler. Although it is awkward as hell that this happened right in the middle of the feud. Okay, you have Rusev and Summer Rae getting engaged to be engaged, and then all of a sudden this happens, and then the very next week, yeah, Rusev and Lana got engaged off screen. I wish there was a way to more organically incorporate that into the feud. Maybe Lana and Rusev could have held off on their engagement for on announcing their engagement for a while. Whatever. It's not like the feud was that good. Carrie 420, the best Batman villains in 2015 is Tim Drake's Red Hood. He's not really a Batman villain in the comics, though, right? I don't think so. I mean, I'm not reading Red Hood and the Outlaws, but I don't think him and Batman are enemies in the comics right now. I remember there was an animated movie, was like Under the Red Hood or Revenge of the Red Hood or something like that. I didn't see it. That might work. Now, the Red Hood might work as a villain in the new Batman movies, actually, because I believe in the trailer for Dawn of Justice, there was a shot of Robin, the Robin suit, with Joker painting "ha ha ha ha" on it. So we could assume that one of Robin or one of the Robins ran afoul of the Joker and possibly died, and that did happen to the Tim Drake. No, not the Tim Drake, not the fucking Tim Drake. The Jason Todd. So maybe doing the Jason Todd Red Hood in a Batman movie, that has possibilities, I guess. I never understood the fascination with Jason Todd, though. Seemed like his character was better off as like a martyr, not a martyr, but something to motivate Batman as a sympathy kill. And never really got the motivation beyond about bringing him back. Certainly not giving him his own book. But whatever, I don't really read the Batman comics anyway, so I guess I'm not a good judge. Let's see. Yeah, Jason Todd Red Hood, not Tim. Yeah. Jeff Atwood, a Batman movie involving a friend or foe relationship with Jason Todd feuding with villains would be interesting. Seemed like there'd be a lot of backstory there. I think it would might be worth a shot since it's something that we haven't seen in a Batman movie before. I guess Jason Todd is an antagonistic character that we haven't seen Batman try to have to deal with before, so that would be interesting. My concern is it would probably involve a lot of setup. They're probably more simple scenarios that they could use, but it might be worth doing. Darewolf 87, thoughts on Shinsuke Nakamura? I don't have any. Not familiar with Shinsuke. So HP Hain 4441. What is the group in this? What group in this series is interesting for you to watch? In the World Title Series, which group? Oh Christ! How many groups are there? I mean, there's like, I think someone said on Twitter that there were 8 of them. Have they all been announced? Oh gosh. A lot of these groups aren't really that interesting. I mean, there's like maybe a lot of them have like one person who is pretty clearly the one who's going to advance. Like Team UK, it's probably going to be Drew Galloway who advances. Team TNA Originals, who's going to advance? Probably Bobby Roode. Team Knockouts, probably Kong or Gale. Tag team specialists, and probably Matt Hardy. Oh Christ, which is interesting. Maybe the team, whatever the hell their name is, the team Nougat, the team of the four up and comer, the team group up and comer, whatever the hell their name is. Just because I don't really know. I don't really know who would advance from that group. Assuming TNA have them all under contract, or at least under paper appearance deals, and they're not just there as one-offs. If all those guys are sticking around, I guess that team would be interesting to me, just because I don't really know how that one would shake out. Direwolf 87, Asuka versus Robbie E. Would you pay to see it? I'd pay to see Asuka beat the living shit out of Robbie E. That would be entertaining. Okay. HB Hain 4441. Do you like Casey Jones from the Ninja Turtles? Yeah, he was cool. That the new Ninja Turtles movie wasn't that good, but I still kind of sort of liked it just because it's the Turtles. I grew up with the Turtles, so it's really hard for me to dislike them. It's kind of like the Muppets. I don't really have it in me to hate the Turtles. So I like Casey Jones. I think I'm looking forward to seeing Stephen Amell, seeing what he does with Casey Jones in the sequel. Not expecting a great movie, but I'm interested. Direwolf 87, favorite Ninja Turtle? I always liked Mikey. Yeah. Always liked him. Although, looking back, the surfer dude persona in the original cartoon that Mikey had probably hasn't aged very well. Like ordinarily, I'd probably like Raphael the best, although it seems like he's kind of a one-note character. He's always the guy with anger problems, and it always seems like he's the one that gets focused on the most for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know what makes Raph more interesting than any of the others. Wouldn't you want to give them all equal screen time? I would prefer that. But yeah, my favorite one was usually Mikey. Okay. Giancarlos Vasquez Marcano, even with TNA's uncertain future, how do you see them doing in 2016? And do you think any big or small network will give them a chance? For all the criticism Dixie Carter gets, she has, one way or another, been able to at least keep TNA in business. So I suspect they'll wind up on a new network. I can't speak for how big or small it would be, but I imagine they'll wind up somewhere. How do you see them doing in 2016? Honestly, that depends a lot on if they can finally get their shit in order. Whether or not they'll ever do that is anyone's guess. It seems like there's always been a lot of problems with TNA that are quite easily that would be quite easy to solve, but they don't seem interested in solving them. Lack of advertising for one, problems in creative for another. A lot of those problems would be solved by a better creative team, but it doesn't seem like Dixie is interested in changing the writers, and I don't know why. My guess is, unless they make the changes they need to make, they'll continue about at the level they're at now, not really getting worse and not really growing their business either. So my guess is they would continue to tread water. The Save Me One, TNA need to sign Crimson back. I agree. I don't know why they got rid of that dude in the first place. I thought he had big main event potential. I mean, sure, he was a work in progress. I'm not denying that. He wasn't perfect. I thought like the raw material for a star was there with that guy. It just needed to be developed. And they let him go for reasons I don't understand. They're bringing him back for sporadic appearances, so obviously he's still on their radar, and they're still keeping tabs on him. But every time they bring him back, he's just there to get jobbed out. So I don't know what the plan is there. But I would love it if they brought him back full time. I was a Crimson fan. Direwolf87, thoughts on Chris Harris? I don't really have any at this point. Last time I saw him was when TNA brought him back for a one-off against, I think, James Storm. After the Braden Walker thing, he kind of just dropped off the map. And I haven't really heard much about him since then. So yeah, I haven't had any thoughts on Chris Harris in a couple of years. Okay. It seems like that's about it. No more comments unless, you know what, let me check one more time. There we go. Direwolf87, how would Joey Styles fare as a solo act without being scripted by anyone on Raw? Joey Styles? I think he'd do fine. He called solo he called pay-per-views solo in ECW, and people seem to like that. I was never a huge fan of his announcing style personally, but the guy did have a following. I think he'd do fine. And I think that will do it for the night. All right, good stream this week, you guys. Same time Wednesday, next Wednesday, 11:15 p.m., 15 minutes after Impact. Until then, I will see you tomorrow night, which is tonight, actually, because it's after midnight. But, Thursday night at 10 for the Comic Show post-show. We got new Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., we got new Arrow, which aired tonight, and we got a new Flash to talk about. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And I've got to take some notes on Arrow tonight before I go to sleep. I also need to eat at some point, too. I haven't really eaten anything today. So I'm going to go do that. And I will see you tomorrow night. The Comic Show post-show, 10 p.m. Eastern. Tell your friends, and please tune in. I'll talk to you then. Till then, later. Thanks for tuning in. Night.